Hey all, we'll see how to configure SSL in this class. So in previous classes we have seen how to configure plugin with front-end IBM HTTP server and WebSphere. So in this server we have application, we have default application, and this application can be accessed using yeah, this URL. In our previous classes we have seen how to check existing application, and we have seen how to check URL of this application, and we have seen the URL of WebSphere, and we have seen the URL of uh, we have seen the URL of front end IBM HTTP server. So by default, when we configure, it would be accessed using port 80. So here, if I copy paste this URL, this is still with HTTP. So right now it is on port 80. Most of the websites nowadays are configured through HTTPS. Like if you see any banking websites, they would be configured with SSL certificate. Well, nowadays all sites are configured with SSL. So now you can see here HTTPS. So now for this website, social security SSL is configured. So because of that, the communication is happening with HTTPS, and so once SSL is configured, the port would be 443. So the port of HTTP is 80 and the port of HTTPS is 443. So on the whole point, so once SSL is configured, say the communication between server and user would be secured, and it would occur with the secure socket layer. So SSL is nothing but full form is secure socket layer. And I would like to say like how exactly the secure connection will occur through this diagram. So here this diagram is having whole process. I'll just give you a brief idea about the whole process, then while doing activity you will understand in clear. So to configure SSL we have steps. So I'll go through these steps step by step. So during those steps while configuring SSL, you would be having one public key and private key. So you in the server you would be having private key, and you would interact with the public key in the domain. So you will, while raising request, your public key information would be sent to the certificate authority, and using that public key they will give a certificate. And so once you import your certificate, then when users starts communicating with your server through public key and this private key, through this public key and private key, a secure communication would be occurred between server and the client, I mean the with the end user. So the sensitive data like username, password, all these can be communicated with a secure manner through secure socket layer. So this is a little brief about how it functions. So now let us see the required configurations to configure SSL. And to start with, during our course we have seen how to configure IBM HTTP server, and we have seen how to integrate IBM HTTP server to WebSphere. So initially we'll discuss about creating SSL through IBM HTTP server. Then later we'll see how to configure SSL for Apache server, and we'll just have a glance about IIS as well. So to start with IBM HTTP server, yeah. So to start with IBM HTTP server, we are having a tool ikeyman. So using this tool, we can configure secure SSL. So let me open ikeyman tool, and so here we have to, there is a term, it could be IHS, IBM HTTP server, or Apache web server, or IIS, I mean Internet Information Service. All these are web servers. So whichever web server, to whichever web server you are going to configure social security layer, there is something called CSR, and so CSR means it is certificate signing request. So you will start with CSR. It's nothing but you will raise a certificate request, and so we'll see how to raise a certificate request first, and then we'll discuss about second step. And so the CSR is a common step for all the web servers. So here in ikeyman, first you have to create a database. Through that database, you will create CSR. So key database file, new. CMS is the most widely used database, and I'm going ahead with the default name key.kdb, and let it get stored in this location, bin location. So okay, so once I click OK, a database is going to get created. So in this database I'll create CSR, and I'll even import the certificates. So let us see how it goes. Okay, I can create some password here, just to secure your environment, and we need to stash the password for synchronization over the environment. So we need to stash the password, and I'm clicking OK. Yeah. So now, yeah, key.kdb database is created, and then so as I said, we need to raise CSR first. So to raise CSR in the ikeyman tool, you have to select personal certificate request, and in personal certificate request you have to click on new. So here, so key label can be anything, SSL, REQ, you can give any name, and the common name is the common name would be the name of your application. Say something like yahoo.com or google.com, or some you know ABCCOM, ABCOM, some company. So some company name, generally your application would be related to your company name, so you can give some name, and this would be the name of your application, in other words, or else this would be so for the domain. So let me say Yahoo Yahoo test. Okay, so I'm just saying that it would be the domain name. Generally common name would be the domain name. The organizations, well, you can give your organization name, and give all the details accordingly, and then click on OK. So all these are optionals, you can give the details, and then click on OK. So well, a new certificate request is successfully created with this name. So your certificate is created with certreq.arm. You must send the file to a certificate authority to request a certificate. Okay. So yeah, so I have created CSR now. So this CSR would be let me show the CSR. Yeah. So we have even seen the name. So our CSR is created like this. Let me open with the notepad. This is how CSR looks like. So generally, there would be procurement teams in your company, or else if if you have access to procure a new certificate, you have to go to websites like Verizon or GoDaddy or any vendors who provides secure socket SSL certificates. So in their website you should paste the certificate and then you should request a new certificate, or else you can renew the existing certificate. So using this CSR, they will give you the certificate and they could send you through the email. So once you receive the certificate from the vendor, you should import that. You should import those certificates. So in the email you will receive the certificates. Generally there would be something like signer certificates. So you can see those certificate names, and then you can those would be signer certificates. You can select you can come back to ikeyman and you can select signer certificates and click on add, and then browse the certificates which vendor has provided, and you can import them. So what I would like to say is we cannot really configure SSL, so I'm just giving you the details how exactly we configure in the real time. So this is how you create CSR and you import certificates through ikeyman. So through personal certificates you can raise CSR, and in the signer certificates you can import the certificates received from vendor. So this is about ikeyman side, and there are furthermore steps. We'll discuss those steps as well. Before that, I want to cover how we the same steps how we do in uh, Apache web server as well. So let us see how we do the same steps in Apache. In Apache, we should follow the commands. So let me cover the concepts how exactly we do if we have to do the same thing in Apache web servers. So to talk about some common terms here, well, in this process we have discussed about private key and public key. So these private key and public key would be generated once you generate CSR, I mean certificate signing request. So in the ikeyman also we have created CSR. So during that process, public key and private key would be created, and so in the ikeyman we have created database. So all those details would be recorded in the key.kdb database. So all these details would be recorded here, would be saved there, private key or public key. So what I want to say, while raising CSR, private key and public key would be created. And so now we are going to see how to configure SSL for Unix, I mean for Apache web servers. And for Apache server, if it is configured in Unix, how would be the process? We'll see those steps. So the very first step, yeah, as usual, in any web server, the very first step would be like CSR, certificate signing request. So here, if it is front end is Linux, and if it is Linux, to raise CSR, the process would be like this. You would be having some config file. So config file is nothing but, I'll tell you how it would be. So why I open this is, so while creating a CSR in the ikeyman, you have filled all these details. You have filled all these details. So Linux, it's being terminal mode. I was saying to create CSR first you should create config file. So in any company you would be having some config file. I would request you to check the existing company procedures. All companies will have some documentation about the existing configurations. Go through those configuration details and check how exactly the existing config files are there. So even the config file will have something like a key label and common name, organize, Well, you'll have all these details. So and you have to fill these details using the best editor is VA editor. So you can go through my channel for Linux commands. So through VA editor you need to prepare a config file first, and you should prepare config file first. So using config file you can raise CSR, and I just want to say one technical term, secure space. Why I'm saying this space is, in companies in generally you don't place these CSRs and SSLs wherever you like. So you would be having some secure space only, so that only some admin privileged users can access the secure space using credentials, so that your CSR and SSL can be secured in your company as well. So yeah, I'm discussing we can raise CSR. For before that you should prepare config file. You can prepare that using VA editor. So the first step using to generate SSR, and so in the Linux you will raise CSR and import certificates. So you'll raise CSR and import certificates using OpenSSL commands. And so first you'll go to the secure space where exactly your company works for SSL, and there, so you will use this command to raise CSR. So this is the syntax, and you can Google it with OpenSSL. You'll be having many options. So I'm showing only the basic required options, in general how it would be look like, so you can explore more and work on it. So the general syntax to raise CSR, it would be like this: OpenSSL -u out, and then you can give some name and .csr. So CSR would be generated with this command, and then -config, and then you'll give the config file which you have created. I have shown you using VA editor you should create a config file. So you will give that file name, and after running this command it will ask some fast phrase. Fast phrase means it will be like a password, and you have to remember that password so that it can be used while importing certificate. So after this running command, a CSR would be generated. Yes, obviously through command CSR file would be generated. And one more thing to remember is, after running this command, a private key would be generated. I have told at the beginning is a secure communication would be established using public and private key. So here private key would be generated while raising CSR. So after raising CSR in your secure space in your location, you would be having these three files: config file which you have created before running the command, and after running this command CSR would be generated, and even private key would be generated. So now you will send this CSR to the vendor to buy to get the SSL certificate. So once your vendor sends you the certificate through the email, you can download it, and then you will use the same OpenSSL with different options. So you will use import option, and then anyways you have to keep your CSR through which you receive the certificate. You have to refer that, and then you have to refer your private key as well, which we have received in the previous command. You have to refer private key, and then the certificate which you have received from vendor. So this is a common way which you use to import SSL using OpenSSL command. You can explore more as well. Okay, so yeah, so this is about raising CSR and importing certificate through ikeyman and through OpenSSL command. To rewind, till now we have just raised CSR. After raising CSR, we'll get a certificate from vendor, and we have seen how to import the certificate. So we have seen these steps using ikeyman, and ikeyman is for IBM HTTP server. And we have seen this process with OpenSSL. OpenSSL is for to configure SSL on Linux servers, and in general it would be for Apache. And well, so now the front end part, Apache or IHS part is done. So we have seen earlier all the architecture. So it's like this. So the front end, after front end IHS, you would be having WebSphere. We'll see about WebSphere as well. And one more thing, since it's related to Apache, so we know the major config file of Apache web server, it is httpd.conf. So any changes which you do would be or you have to record all those details in httpd.conf. So there is a syntax, generic syntax, and the better option is you can go through your company documentation as well, and existing SSL configuration as well, so that you can synchronize the same configurations in your environment, I mean wherever you are configuring. So in general it will be like this. You have to give the port, and then SSL certificate. Yeah, this would be the key label. I mean this the maybe the certificate names, or it could be certificate names. And then if you have any database, so earlier we have while creating CSR through ikeyman, a database would be generated. So we have given the database file name, and this is nothing but a label, the name when while creating yeah, so while creating CSR, we will be giving the label name. So we have to give that name here. Yeah. So yeah, so the whole point is you have to give the configurations whichever you have done. You have to give those details here, and this is rough syntax about configurations. What I would suggest is you can check the existing configuration in your company, and better synchronize with those existing configurations. And yeah, so let us check the configurations in the httpd.conf file. So let me open, this is httpd.conf. Yeah. So see, by default all these are commented, so you can do the required modifications and enable all these lines, whichever you feel required. And you should even enable this module. So you have to make these changes in the httpd.conf file, and then you have to do few changes from the WebSphere end as well. So let me go through the WebSphere. Yeah, in the WebSphere you have to do some changes in the web server end. And during plugin configuration we have seen about this web server. So you can go here and you should go to plugin properties. Here you should click on copy to web server key store directory. This is just for the synchronization between IHS and all the required files which are useful for SSL configurations. So it is for synchronization. And then in generic, yeah, once you do all these changes anyways, you have to generate plugin. This is also for synchronization. And after generating plugin, you need to propagate the plugin. So I'm selecting it and propagating the plugin. So yeah, in WebSphere, for any major changes you have to generate plugin and propagate plugin, so that the changes would be synchronized between IHS IBM HTTP server and WebSphere server. Okay, so well, now you have to restart the servers for the changes to take place. So let me rewind. So as of now we have seen the required SSL configurations. So we have seen through how we do through ikeyman tool. So yeah, so this is ikeyman tool. We'll open this with ikeyman.bat, and then we have seen the required configurations through in the Linux through OpenSSL commands, and in general it would be for Apache. And then we yeah, after raising CSR, after importing certificate, we have seen the required modifications in the httpd.conf, and then yeah, we have to do little modifications and in the WebSphere end as well. So you have to generate plugin, and then yeah, you have to perform this step in the web server. In the plugin properties, you have to select this button, copy to web server key store directory, and yeah, after this you should restart IHS and WebSphere servers. We have seen in earlier classes how to restart them, and once you do all these changes, you should be able to complete SSL configurations. And again, the major important step is it's a complicated architecture. Every company will have different procedures, and you'll be having already prepared documentation for your existing infrastructure. So what I would suggest is go through the existing infrastructure documentation, and then do the configuration accordingly for the new configurations required. I mean, check the existing configuration, and then perform for the new environment accordingly. And well, I just like to give a glance with IIS as well. Okay. Well, this is about IIS Internet Information Server, and this is if your WebSphere front end is with Windows, you may have IIS. And I did not really work on IIS, but I just want to give you a glance. You should be able to configure SSL through server certificates. Maybe this could be a homework to you if you want to do on Windows. A rough idea is here also you should raise CSR, and I believe you can raise a CSR using CSR create certificate request. So well, whatever you can create certificate, and then you have to again export it and send it to vendor, and again you should import. So it would be something like this. So IS it should be something like that. So the whole point is you should raise a CSR, and then you should send the certificate to vendor, and you should import the certificate. Maybe you can do some R&D about IS. I did not really work on IS. And that's all about this class. And thank you for watching this video, and all the best. And please subscribe my channel. Have a nice day. Bye bye.